Okay, today we're going to look at numbers as words, essentially. So the first thing we'll look at is we know we can describe things as number form, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But sometimes we want to simplify that. So we know the number 1 we can describe as a, or when we're looking with a vowel, when our noun starts with a vowel, then it'll be an. But then we also have 1. So in this case, what's the difference between a and an and 1? For example, I can say, I have a big kitchen. Or I can say, I have 1 bedroom. Okay, so why do I choose a for kitchen in this case? And why do I choose 1 for bedroom in this case? Well, there's a couple of ways we can understand the difference between a and 1. One of these ways is that the assumption. So when we use a, we're just referring to one of an object, or we're referring to the object itself. Hey, what are you doing, buddy? You gonna come in here? No? Come on, come sit here. When we use 1, so shit, where the fuck was I? Sorry, my cat is just disturbing me. All right, so when we use a, we're just referring to that object itself. But we know that in most houses, you only have 1 kitchen. So in this case, dude, what the fuck? In this case, we'll just say, for example, I have a big kitchen. I have, for example, I have a big house, or I rent a big house. So I rent a big house. And as well, like I have a shitty car. So in this case, we know that most people only have 1 car. We don't assume that people have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in that case, I have to say I have 1 shitty car, as opposed to Jeff, who has 17 shitty cars. We know that most people only have 1 car. So in this case, we can just refer to it as a. The same thing with a house, you rent 1 house. So in this case, I'm not going to say I rent 1 big house and I rent 17 small houses. No, I rent a big house, or I have a big house. I have a big kitchen, because most houses have 1 kitchen. So this is one way we can look at it. And then, in this other aspect, we'll say, well, okay, why do we choose to say 1? Well, we're being specific. We're being specific because most houses have at least 2 bedrooms, right? I mean, there's probably one person saying, no, mine's fucking 1. But we assume that most houses have 2, 3, or 4 bedrooms. So in this case, I have 1 bedroom, or we could say, for example, I have a 1 bedroom house. And so the in this case, is referring to the object, the house, because you don't have many fucking houses. You have 1 house. But when we look inside the house, like what else do we have in our house that generally we have more than 1, or the number is important? We can say, well, I have 1 bathroom, because, it's not guaranteed that you have 2, 3, 4, or 10 bathrooms, but a lot of houses do. So in this case, we want to be specific with that. I have 1 bathroom. Maybe your house only has 1 fucking window. I have 1 window, because maybe your house is a penitentiary. It's a prison. You're in jail. That's your house. So yeah, I have 1 bedroom. I have 1 door. I have 1 toilet. And I have 1 bed inside my room. Whatever it is, those things are specific. Like, it's specific that we're saying the word 1 in this case, because we could assume it would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Whereas, and the same thing if I was if I go to a restaurant, or a diner or a cafe or whatever, and I want a sandwich, well, I'll say, look, can I have a sandwich? Because we just assume, like, if I'm just one person, then I'll just assume that, I'll only need one sandwich. So I'm not going to refer specifically to the number. I'm just going to say But maybe, no. In this case you would, because I mean, if you're going to order separate things, you would say, like, can I have a sandwich and a hamburger? We're just referring to the object. So we only really use one when it's necessary to be specific for that thing itself. Okay, so that's and as well, looking at one. All right, well, how do we look at two of something? So we know and equals one. Well, two we know equals a couple of. So I have a couple of computers. What else do I have fucking two of? Well, I have a couple of pairs of shoes. They're both old as fuck. I have always possessions here. All right, I have a couple of bucks in my bank. And that's it. So, and we could say when we talk about people, we say they are a revolting couple. Well, no, they're fucking revolting. Jesus Christ, Ken. They're a charming couple. Jesus Christ. Or revolting. You could go either way. So in this case, we're referring to a boyfriend and girlfriend, boyfriend, girlfriend, girlfriend, fucking whatever the fuck. But we're two people who are holding hands and singing songs about daisies as they slowly skip down the street and butterflies circle about their necks. They're a charming couple. Whereas if I'm referring to two objects, I'd like a couple of coffees, please. In this case, I mean, you'd still refer to it as two, but fuck it, we're giving examples. I mean, Jesus Christ, Ken. Please, be polite, motherfucker. All right, so that's two. Three, we'll look at a few. So I have a few cats and a few dogs. So this is kind of, I guess, not. It's supposed to be three, but you can say like basically 3 to 5. A few is like an amount that is small enough that if you looked at it, you could count it. So like when we kind of imagine the thing, so we'll say like one is here, of course, it's one. A couple of course, is visually 2. And a few is going to be some number that you can count easily. Either 3 or ideally 4. It's supposed to be just 3, but fuck it. So we'll leave it here as 3. We'll be nice. So then we look at like from 4 to 9, more or less. And we're going to say several or some. So I have several pets. I do. Fucking lot of them. I have what do I have several? I got a couple of kids. I have several friends. I think it's actually a couple, but fuck it. I'm going to try and pretend here. I have several friends. Let me pretend I'm social and I don't spend all my fucking free time making fucking videos that no one watches on YouTube. What else do I have several of? I have several mental issues. Well, this is not supposed to be honest. I have several pairs of socks. Jesus, what do I have a few of? Well, no, a few, several. No, that's a lot. There's books that no one fucking buys. Well, okay. I have several apples in the fridge. I do. All right, so that's several. Now, the same thing we could say, I have some pets. The difference with some, like for several, we're looking at as well countable objects. So it has to be things like apples, oranges, cars. It has to be tangible, countable things, individual things. With some, we're looking at countable and more specifically, non-countable. So here, like if we imagine if this is a few, the size of a few, well, then we'll say some is more like this size here. And it can be countable. For example, it can be about 7 of something. So several will be the way where you actually have to stop, look, and count. Or it can just be the volume. Like, so if we're looking at non-countable things like there is some water in the fridge. I bought some beer. Well, not me, because I'm fucking dry and I'm better than you. I bought some, what do I buy that's a drink? I fucking don't. Fuck. Fuck, I don't buy it. All right, I bought some coconut water. Tastes like fucking pus. I bought some coconut water. Oh shit, because I did water twice. Ah, Kian, Jesus Christ, talk about repeating yourself. All right, I used to, get into some other grammar here. I used to drink some wine, Jesus Christ. I used to drink some wine on Sundays, because getting in touch with my religious side. Some wine is a little bit of a euphemism there. Fucking a lot of wine. Okay, so that's like 4 to 7. So there we come back up, we have some and several. Once again, some is for principally non-countable. And several is always for countable objects. And that's the way we can just talk about, things, the number, where is it? 4 to 9 or 4 to 7, whatever. Non-specific here. We're just looking at fucking the averages of things. And then when we get over 10, more or less, whatever that number is, depending on the object, then we'll look at, for example, many, a lot, lots of, heaps, tons, gazillions. And this is in English where things get kind of creative. There's no such word as a gazillion, but in my books, I use gazillions all the time. Any quantifier that represents a large amount of something, for example, as well, like a way that we can hold wine is what? A barrel. So barrels. How the fuck do you spell barrel? Is it 1 L? 2 R's? It is. Well, I'll be. We just learned something together. So as soon as we get into like a large volume, that's where English gets a little creative. In Portuguese, we'll just say muito. That's it. It's simplistic. It's not being hyperbolic. Which, look, it's always better when you're writing to not depend on comparatives, to not depend on hyperbole, to not use what I call like maquillage or makeup in your language. Don't try to make your story or your writing sound fantastic by using glittery language. Glittery language fucking sucks. Either the story is interesting, what's happening to that character is interesting, or it's not. And if it's not, then fucking, try to think about an interesting story. But don't try to dress up a dull story with superlatives and hyperbole and endless lists of comparatives. And as I say that, I think about the shitty stories I wrote that were just filled with abuse of comparatives. But then again, I'm amazing. I'm allowed to do that shit. All right, so that's 10 plus of something. There we go. There's numbers. So we come all the way back to the first one. We have a and an and one, of course. And the difference is when we want to just refer to the object, we'll use a. We want to be specific about the number, we'll use one. And for some things, we just assume specific is necessary. For example, I have one bedroom, I have one bathroom, I have one window, these type of things. I have one plate, one cup, one spoon. I don't. I have 3 because I have me and 2 kids, and that's all that comes into my fucking house. Apart from cats and dogs, but they eat out of fucking bowls. Then we have 2, which is a couple of. Then we went to 3, which was a few. then 4 to 9, or 4 to 7, or 4 to whatever. Once again, I mean, if we're counting fucking Skittles, it's going to be like 4 until fucking 50. But if we're talking about tables or elephants, well then, you know, the 9 elephants, that's a fucking fair few elephants, right? Then more than 10, or subjectively, depending on what object you say, grains of fucking rice, you know, it's going to be a little more than 10. We're looking at many, a lot, lots of, heaps, gallons, gazillions, and barrels. And so as well, when we look at many, we're looking at countable. When we look at the gazillions of water, gazillions will be countable. Tons, I don't think so. So a lot of will be either countable or uncountable. I have a lot of water. I have lots of water. I have heaps of water. I have not gazillions. No, I have tons of water, and I have barrels of water. So gazillions, in this case, gazillions and many will be only for countable objects. I have many pets. I have many books. I have gazillions of fucking books that I printed from my first novel 10 years ago that are sitting behind me, that at some point I'm going to rip them up into pieces and decorate a fucking table. Or if it gets cold enough this winter, I'll light them on fire and keep me warm for about an hour or two. And that's it. That's those numbers. So then let's look at one more thing here, looking at the idea of volumes of things. So we can look at, for example, the difference between a little and little. So if we said, for example, I have a little money, or I have little money. All right, so what changes here? Well, a little, we're going to talk about a quantifier, and we're going to say that we have like a volume, like a small volume of money. So maybe I have 20 bucks or 30 bucks or 50 bucks. I have a little money. But we're probably thinking in the kind of maybe more optimistically, I don't know. When we say I have little money, what I'm really telling you is I don't have much money. So I'm looking at it, the money in a negative light. Maybe I have like $1,000, but in my perspective, that's not a lot of money, or that's nowhere near the money that I need to buy my helicopter and crash it into the side of a mountain. So in this case, if I have little of something, so for example, I have little time, which means I don't have the time to help you. I do, don't want to. The time to help you. So I have little time to do what I need to do. I have little time to do what I need to do. All right. On a more positive aspect, where we offer to help the person, you may say, look, can you give me a hand? I say, look, sure. I have a little time to kill. And in this case, yeah, I've got like 5 or 10 or 20 minutes that I can give to you. I have a little time. So we're looking at, we have a volume. And in this case, like a spare volume. So it's either spare money, I have a little money. So in this case, it's like a little bit of savings, or, yeah, I have a little savings, I have a little this, a little that. And sometimes as well, we might say, look, a little bit of, a little more clear. But in the case of I have little money, it means, you know, I don't have enough. I don't have any spare that I can give to you. Or I don't even have enough for myself to get what I want. The same thing with time. Look, I have little time, which means I'd love to help you. I would if I could, but I can't, so I won't. You know, I would love to help you, but, you know, I've got episodes of The Office to watch. I'm sorry, I just don't have the fucking time. The same thing we could look at, a few versus few. So we could say, for example, I have a few friends. Totally not true. I have a few friends, or I have few friends. Now, this here is all subjective. So maybe you think a person should have 25 friends. Who knows? But you only have 21. You're like, fuck. I have few friends. So you're looking at it in a very negative light. We're looking and saying, I don't have enough. That's always what it is. I don't have enough. Whereas I have a few friends, I mean, depending on the situation, it could be positive or negative. But yeah, look, I have a few friends. And so in this case, we're saying, 3, 4, 5 friends. But we're counting upwards. Here we're looking at what's missing. O que está faltando? Yeah, I have few friends. We're thinking negative about anything. I have few. So, for example, we could say as well, like, I have a few things to do today. So I'm looking at my chores or my obligations or those things. Or, yeah, I can hang out. I have a few things to do. Which means I don't have many things to do. And so in this case as well, what was the difference between little and a little and few and a few? Well, here, a few, we're going to talk about countable. We either have a small amount or we don't have enough. And little, we're going to talk about non-countable. Either we have little water, little time, little effort, little money. So it's going to be non-countable things. And for countable, it's going to be a few. I have a few friends, a few cats, a few dogs. Yeah, I have few dogs. I only have 3. I should have 17. And so that's it. And that's today's lesson. I didn't do a lesson last week because I was dying of fucking dengue for the last 2 weeks, and really I couldn't be fucked. So yeah, there's your lesson. It's a nice quick one looking at words. So let's review what we did today. We're just looking at numbers and how we can express numbers as words in English to make life easier so we don't have to be exact all the time. Is my camera fucking falling? No, I don't know. It looks like it fucking is. I know what's going on. Jesus Christ, kid. Yeah, okay, so numbers as words. So, because we don't want to have to say 17, 16, 17. We want to be kind of like here. We want this idea of a word that kind of expresses this increased volume of something for countable and for non-countable. So 1, we said was an or one. 2, we said was a couple of. So 3, we said was a few. 4 to 9, we said was several and some. And then 10 plus, we said was many, a lot, heaps, and so forth. So when we're talking of like affirmative sentences, I have some problems, I have some issues, that's here. I have several things that I need to talk to you about. There's a few people at the party. I saw a couple of ducks working in a bank yesterday. I have a foot. Yes, a foot. No, I mean, I have 2. It's just, I also have 1 in my freezer. And 10 is a lot, many, and all of those things. And there's not a foot in my freezer. It's a finger. No, it's a fucking head. And then, of course, we had a little versus little. So here we were looking at non-countable things like money. Yes, we cannot count money. You can count dollars, cents, reais, and centavos, but you cannot count money. Money is a concept. It's not real. Money is the way that we talk about those two things. Money is a concept. A little versus little. So little was us saying that I don't have enough. Little saying is I have a little bit to spare. I have a small amount of something. Then we looked at a few versus few. So they were countable. Things that we can hold and separate, and they're big enough, not like rice, but they're big enough that one of them is visible. And easy to count. And that 10 makes a volume that's good. Good? It makes a volume. I mean, 10 grains of rice or 10 grains of sand isn't a volume. And so a few, once again, was we were talking about a small number of something in the affirmative. Whereas few was, I don't have enough of this thing. I'm lacking these things in my life. And that's it. That's today's lesson. As always, love the people who love you. Everybody else is just a piece of shit. I'll see you in the next video, whenever that happens.